Hi everybody, welcome to my latest video. I don't know if you can hear that in the distance, but it's the sound of my neighbor cruising on past in his tractor. He's out on his land doing a bunch of work. The weather's gorgeous and it's just so nice to see everybody resurfacing after what has been a whole bunch of miserable rainy days in a row. So we got some glorious sunny days in this video, and that means some outside work on the pergola. It also means that Sinead and I go to an Easter market, and I share that with you. But of course the rain is ever present, and I'm driven inside to do some more work on the shower. But that means I finally finish the base layer and get some things reassembled and attached in there so that it's starting to actually look like a shower. Plus a whole bunch of other things. This video is a pretty long one, but it's a good one and I make a lot of progress. So I hope you enjoy this one, and I'll see you again at the end. Good morning everybody. It's overcast today and it's supposed to rain a little later on. Not super hard, but hard enough that I don't want to plan to work on the pergola, which is fine because I still have loads of work to do on the shower inside. So that's my plan for today. I've got my bucket of lime on the floor in the middle of my place, which has been annoying me for ages. So I'm looking forward to hopefully getting rid of that. And my plan is to finish the shower around all of the little windows and then the big window and put that back in place. And then I also want to replace the steel pipes with this stuff, which I think is called multi-layer pipe or something. It's a bit bendy, and it seems to be what most people recommend using around these parts. So I've taken the steel pipes out, and I need to figure out how to chop the pipe. So I've got this tool here. And then once you chop the pipe, you've got this thing to sort of get rid of the spurs, make everything smooth. And then we have these fittings, which screw onto the end of the pipe on this end, and then this goes onto the tap. So I've got all the tools that I need to attempt this, and I'm really gonna try to get the taps into the wall, the shower finished, and figure out how to fasten the top of the shower as well. But before I get into all of that stuff, let's travel back to yesterday, which was Easter. Sinead and I went to a market about 40 minutes drive away. A friend of ours was making pizza. It's just an area we've never been to before. There was lots of great stalls. There was plenty of people that had come in from a local rainbow gathering, so the place was packed and very joyful. There was lots of music and it was pretty fun. Sinead loaded up on plants and we ate lots of cookies. More cookies than one person should really eat. But we had a fun time. We came away with some exciting plants, which I'll go into later on. And yeah, all around it was a really nice day. We went to a different market after that and enjoyed our Easter. It was nice and calm and really fun. And when we got home from the markets, both of us jumped on the strimmer. We're really dedicated, so Sinead was over at her place bashing down some grass, and I decided to do some strimming at my place, but I focused on the roads. So they have a tendency to get overgrown. The road beside my house is something I should definitely strim myself, but the roads behind me are city roads, or town roads, and they're the responsibility of the village. However, they don't really get down here to do the strimming, so I started working my way up the road until the strimmer batteries ran out, and it was just a nice way to spend a lovely evening getting to a bit of work that's been annoying me for a while now. So since I'm showing some strimming, this could be a good time to answer a question that I get very often, and that's, why do I use a strimmer instead of a push lawnmower or a ride-on lawnmower? And the answer is basically the terrain. Well, it's two things. First of all, I love strimming. It's so much fun. It's one of my favorite jobs. And pushing a lawnmower around or even riding around on one just doesn't seem quite as satisfying. The second reason is the terrain. It's quite uppy downy. There's lots of different terraces. There's lots of cliffs. And sometimes you just need to be able to get around quickly. And if you're on a lawnmower or pushing one around, it would be quite difficult to get to all the places, first of all, and even just traversing between the terraces and things would be a little bit sketchy. So a strimmer gives you great mobility, and it's also loads of fun. And so that's my reason for choosing this wonderful tool. And the electric strimmer is even better because it's quiet, it doesn't require a whole bunch of oil and messy things, and it's lighter. So it really is one of my favorite jobs to do. And so that's why I choose a strimmer over a lawnmower. But today is all about working on the shower and trying to get this base layer finished. So I'm gonna dive into this pipe work and see if I can figure it out, because I need to make the pipes in order to attach the tap. So this is step one, and then we'll just continue from there and see how far I can get. Okay, so this is 3 meters of pipe, and I need about a little bit over ½ meter to go through the wall to the other side, plus I want to leave quite a bit extra on the other end. So I might just chop this in half, and that'll allow me to figure out the other end another time. It gives me lots of extra pipe to play with. So this stuff is flexible, which I guess makes things a little bit easier. It's flexible, sort of. I don't think you could bend it too much, and obviously you don't want any kinks in it, so it kind of feels like you need to be a little careful with it. I think in Canada, copper pipes are more common, but you don't really see that here. Here in Portugal, it's either this stuff, stainless steel pipes, which I've used a little bit already, though they don't have a lot of flexibility. Obviously it's quite very rigid. So I'm wondering if this will be better for my taps, because I do need a little bit of wiggle room to get everything kind of plumb against the wall, which will make sense later, I hope. So this is the stuff I'm using. There's also this weird green plastic pipe, which just looks very strange. It involves needing some kind of a heating tool which melts them together. They're plastic. It looks really weird, and I've never seen it before, except for in Portugal. However, I must say, it's not like I'm looking at plumbing supplies in different countries, so who knows if it's common or not across the world. Anyway, so I'm gonna chop this thing in half. I've got a tool for it, this guy here. So I don't need to be exact on this. I'm just gonna estimate somewhere around here. And yeah, let's give it a chop. Easy peasy. And then I probably don't need gloves for any of this stuff now. I've got this tool here that is meant to, I don't know, clear the pipe of burrs and chop stuff off at the top. So I think the idea is you twist it on and then turn it around, and it gets the edges off and just cleans everything up so that the fittings go on properly. Okay. Seems fine. And then we have these things that go on the end. So let's see if I can straighten this all up a little bit more. So it seems sort of easy to work with. I'm excited to see how this all fits together because I had a hard time getting these things onto the steel, and I'm hoping it's a lot easier to get it on to this stuff. So let's just double check that I've got this all ready to go. Okay, and then the idea is, what is the idea? So this goes on the end of the pipe. And then this little thing goes on. And I think when everything's tightened up, this little gold bit cinches in, and that's what makes the seal. So I guess this goes like this. In there. This goes up like that. And then this goes on. So let's just make sure. Okay. So I don't know if 2 wrenches would be better, but I only have 1, so it would be handy to have a vise to stick these things in. But all I have are the vise grips, so let's see if I can do this. I might need some help for the first one until I figure out how it all actually works. So on you go. Right. Or maybe I'll hold it with the vise grips and screw it on with the wrench. That seems a little better. Okay. This is very finicky and quite difficult. But it's my first try ever doing it, so, you know, there might be a learning curve. So it's kind of hard for me to hold on to this and do this at the same time, so I might get Sinead's help a little later, but it's on there and it's going to allow me to screw the tap in, and at the moment that's all I really want. I want to be able to get the tap in the correct position so that I know how the shower is going to be attaching. So I'll get the other one finished and then see if I can get the tap screwed on. So the rain has arrived. It's really quite miserable out there, but I think this is the final day for a couple of weeks at least. And this is where I'm at. I've put the pipes through the wall. I was hoping to put them through these things so that I could easily slide them in and out, but there's not really enough space for that, and it means that I don't have a lot of flexibility because I still do need to move this around in order to get everything even. As you can see, it's not exactly plumb, and then I have to also push it up against that as well. So I've got a bunch of work to do to mark everything out and to screw on the piece here. I'm going to put the camera away while I do that because it's going to be annoying and not very entertaining. And then you'll see me again when it's all in place, hopefully, and I can start finishing the liming. So here's where I'm at. The shower head is attached. The taps are dubiously attached, and I'll talk about that in a minute. First of all, it's still raining outside and very miserable. And my next task is to build up that window and also to lime around all these windows and to build up a bit more on some of the walls that just need a little bit more lime. So I've got everything I need down here. I've got the water, I've got my little footstool to step up on, lime and all the possible tools. But before I get into that, I thought I would talk about how I got this thing attached. In a previous video, you'll have seen me stick a piece of wood inside the wall, and that just gives me something more secure to screw everything into. So my first step was to wiggle the taps around, try to get them in the right place, and then I put the shower head on and made a mark on the wall for where the shower head fastener would go. And then from there, I took the shower head fastener thing apart, and there's a little interior bit that you need to screw in. So I screwed that in, I reattached the shower head holder thing, I put the shower head back onto the taps, and then I put it all in together. And I think it's more or less plumb in both directions. The taps are kind of level, but could use a little bit of work. But for the most part, I'm very pleased with how this thing has all gone together. So that's enough chitter chatter about taps. Right now, it's all about the lime, getting this stuff up around the windows and around that window as well. So I've got a lot of work ahead of me, but I think it's going to be pretty fun. So I could definitely play around with this for a long time. It's really addictive, and you always just think you can push a little bit of lime this way or that way and make it all perfect. But what you really do is just screw it up more. So this is actually the final base layer. So I've got one more layer going on top of this, which will be done with fine sand, which is a little easier to sculpt and work with. And I'm going to do that entire pass all at once, and that's going to be the final base of the shower until I Tadillacked it in the future, which is a method of waterproofing it, which I have a little bit of experience with, but definitely need to practice before I actually try it on the shower. So I'm getting tired and I'm kind of making mistakes, and this is getting a bit slumpy. So what I'll probably end up doing is liming a little bit more of the walls of the shower that need a bit more work, and letting this go a little hard overnight and finish it off tomorrow. I just kind of want to sculpt around the tops of the edges, and I don't know, it might be a little tricky doing it right now. Not really because the lime is hard to work with, mostly because I'm feeling tired. Or I don't know, maybe I'll just continue to work at it. What else do I have to do tonight? I might as well just, I don't know, play around with this thing for hours and try to get it rounded. Yeah, I don't know. Do I walk away? Come back at it tomorrow nice and fresh? Or do I keep going and possibly screw everything up? I think I'll leave it and finish it off tomorrow. So I'm happy with that so far. I'm sort of happy with these. I'll refine them when I do the final layer. I'm really happy with this. This has gone more or less to plan, which is rather surprising. So I'm gonna call it on work for the evening, and you'll see me again from the shower tomorrow. Hello from a brand new day. I was busy yesterday finishing off all of this, liming around the window, and then I also did some lime down there as well. So the base layer is now complete, and even though I have one more layer to do, I decided to screw on the window while the lime is soft so I can just get those screws in there. So I'm very happy with this. I also attached the very large and dubious shower head that doesn't really go with the look of my place, but whatever. I guess that's what happens when you buy things online, sight unseen. And then there's also another little tap that goes up the side with a hose, but its whereabouts is unknown. It is somewhere under the bed, probably, as with many things. So I'm happy with this, and now that the sun is shining, I'm gonna head outside. Because the rain has been coming down for days. Yesterday it rained all day, and now that the sun is out, I can return to work on the pergola. And my next plan of attack for this is pointing, and in order to do that, I've got a little bit of grinding to do to make space, to get rid of some of the cement mortar that has bulged out. So let me get my safety gear on and prepare for some pointing. All right, job done. I always forget how unpleasant using the grinder is. It's just so dusty and noisy and crappy, but it's such a useful tool. And in this case, what that's allowed me to do is just to make more space for the pointing to go in, and to also make a little bit more space between some of the creases as well, so I can actually get it in there. Unfortunately, some irises have perished in the making of these grooves, but overall, it's gonna look better, and that iris, I have no doubt, will recover. So let's give everything a good old clean, and then get on to the fun stuff, which is going to be the pointing, which I'm really looking forward to. I'm going to do the pointing the same color as the window, so it's a slightly different mix. It's a different kind of lime, and it's just going to be a little bit more gray. The house, I think, looks beautiful, but I think that having a light colored pointing on the porch will make the house stand out a little bit less, so I want to go with something a bit more muted. And some of you might have noticed that I've still got the rag up there in the window. I haven't yet addressed the issue with the leaking. And some people have very kindly given me some advice, and I will take you up on that eventually. I just guess I've sort of been waiting for the rain to stop and switched focus to other things, even though the rain has obviously continued. All right, so I've got a lot of cleaning to do. I'm gonna finish this off and then get to the pointing, which I think is gonna make a massive difference in how this all looks. And I'm very excited for this phase. Okay, I'm back. The stones are cleaned. That was weirdly satisfying. And I've made a mix with HL5 lime and coarse sand, but that's after I made another mix with fine sand, and I feel like this is going to end up being a little bit too light and creamy and look too much like the pointing on the house, which isn't what I want. I want something a bit more gray, and so I decided to redo it, and this is what I'm left with. So I have two different kinds of sand. There's coarse sand and fine sand, which is also called yellow sand. And I have two different kinds of lime as well. I've got this lime putty that I use for mostly everything. And I recently picked up some HL5 lime as well, which is a little bit more cementy. It acts a little bit more like using cement. And I'm gonna be using that for the toolshed foundation. And I'm pretty sure, 51% sure, that that's what I used when I made the window frame as well. So I wish I would have written this down, but I'm letting everyone out there know that this mix for pointing the front of the pergola, the stonework in the pergola, is 3-to-1 coarse sand and HL5 lime. So it's on record. So when I do the rest of the pointing, hopefully I can make everything color match. So I'll stick this in the house with the other lime out of the sun. I'll think of something else to do with this. This type of lime actually goes off a lot more quickly than the other type, so I'll have to use that today. But right now, it's all about pointing. So I love pointing. Not only is it an easy way to make something look good quite quickly without too much effort, it's also just a really enjoyable task. And I find it incredibly satisfying. And I have a bit more experience at it now, so it's not quite as frustrating as it once was. Once you get a little better at it, it becomes a lot more enjoyable. So, I don't know. Where to start? Where to start? Let's get going on this tower and see the transformation, hopefully. Pointing with this on my lap might not be the most efficient way of doing things. So working with this HL5 lime stuff isn't as gloriously wonderful as working with lime putty. It's not very sticky. It's hard to get it to go where you want it to go. And because I'm using this coarse sand, it's also kind of granular. So that's my excuse for kind of making a dog's dinner of this. But once it has a chance to cure a little bit, I can come back and sort of scrape it out a bit. That's my plan anyway. Clean off the rocks and make it look gorgeous. So I have a lot of work ahead of me. I haven't had lunch yet. I've got to go into town later. And so I'm kind of pressed for time. So I'm going to keep working away at this. And you'll see me again when the whole thing is finished. It's a brand new day, and this is where I'm at. I finished all of this up until about here yesterday. Let it cure a bit, and then last night I came back and wet it and scraped it with this thing. However, I feel like I might need something smaller to scrape with and clean with because it's still looking a little bit sloppy. And then I just finished this part right now, so this is gonna have to cure a bit, and then I'll do the same thing where I clean it all up. I have a little bit of lime left, but I have the perfect spot for it. But before I get to that, I've got a little update about why I was forced to cut my pointing work in half. It's because yesterday I went into town to do the usual stuff, laundry, groceries, random errands, but the most important thing was to go to the water place and pick up my new water tank. Actually, that's a lie. It's getting delivered tomorrow, but I went in and I paid for it, and I decided that instead of a 2,000 liter tank, I'm going to go with 1,500 liters. It's a vertical model, and it should fit perfectly in my space. So having that here before my dad gets here will allow me to lay out the footers and just prepare the space ready for him to come and enjoy Portugal and hang out and relax. But he's also quite keen to help me with my plumbing and building a water tower as well. So they're leaving Canada in a couple days. They've got a little stint in Porto, and then they arrive here in exactly 1 week. And so before I get into the lime work, I wanted to talk about this space here. It's just the way the stones worked out. I was gonna just chop some stones and fill it in, but I'm wondering if maybe on both sides or one side, I can stick some lighting in or something, just to light up the stairway when it's dark. I don't know, just an idea I had. Let me know what you think about that, and if you can recommend any lights that might work there. I've also done a little bit of work on the pergola. I strapped this piece on so that I can see exactly where the rafters are supposed to sit. It's going to make everything a lot easier, and I still need to come up with a solution for what to do about the ends. Part of the reason that I've gone with a solution, if I'm honest with you, is because the wood I was using was too short to go all the way into the wall. I just wanted to use what I had, and this is a solution I came up with. So since I'm not using the flimsy aluminum bar, I'm gonna pick up some rebar, drill it into the ends, and then stick that in the wall. But the rebar place has been closed, and I'm gonna go probably later today. And as far as the lime goes, I already used up the other lime from yesterday to bed these stones in place, because all of this had to come up about this exact amount in order to put this stone in the right location. So I'm just going to use the rest of the lime up on this. And then there's one last thing I want to get done before the end of the video, which involves the bathroom and shower area, and could be pretty fun. But first, lime. So I've got to say, it really is nice to be able to use things that are just lying around, like these paving stones. I only needed to use the 4 corners to get the job done, and I had these other ones kicking around and wasn't really sure what to do with them. But as it turns out, this, combined with my leftover lime, including my lime mistake where I made the wrong mix, looks like it's gonna end up perfectly. It's a problem I often have of what to do with mainly cement, leftover cement. I don't really want to be dumping it around my land, and I don't use it so often that when I end up with leftovers, I just never know what to do with it. So kind of just try to find some hole to chuck it in. But it's much better if you can actually find a useful purpose for it. So this is working out very well. And these two stones over here on the end are a little lower than the other ones, so I might as well just pile the lime on because I don't have anywhere else to put it. Okay, so now whenever I get to working on Tracy the Trumpet Flowers garden bed, the stone right here will have a nice place to sit. One thing to point out, someone mentioned that Tracy is not looking so happy in her bed, needs more soil. I have a feeling they were looking at this stick, which is actually just an olive clipping or a root or something. So that's not part of Tracy, but Tracy will eventually be fully enclosed by these beautiful granite stones up to about this height, and I'll fill her up with lovely soil and possibly some little flowers or something around her. All right, so on to the next task. Let's make a shelf for my bathroom. Okay, camera fail. That thing fell right at the exact moment I was about to saw this off. But it just means that I can speed things along. I just pushed forward, made these cuts, and this piece of wood is going to be my future bathroom counter. So, let's see if this thing fits. And as you can see, the answer is no, it does not fit. I need to shave off a little bit here so this slides in, and then I'm going to build up some shelves here. The countertop is nice and thick and chunky. I'll stick a sink on it eventually. I've got lots of ideas for what to do in this bathroom space, involving mirrors and shelves and all kinds of bathroomy things. But it's not for this video. I just wanted to get started on this. I'm gonna spend a bunch of time trying to get this as perfect as possible so it's a nice tight fit. And now is not that time. And that's because this video is already long enough. I've crammed in so many things into this video and I don't think I need to start pushing forward also on the bathroom counter. So I'll do that work off camera. I'm also in a bit of a rush because I've got a couple friends coming around in 30 minutes to drink some wine, and I'd rather do that not sweaty and gross and sawdusty. So I've got some cleaning up to do of myself and my place, and I feel like a glass of wine in the sunshine will be a lovely end to a few days of what I think was successful work. So things are pushing along. The pergola is next on my list. I picked up the rebar I need today, so I'll be full steam ahead on that starting tomorrow. So I hope you've enjoyed the video. Thanks as always for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.